Rae Kinsley yanked off her heels the second she stepped out of the chapel's side door, wincing as her bare feet hit the cool stone. "I swear if I have to walk down that aisle one more time with fake flowers and fake smiles, I'm going to scream." "You do realize it's not your wedding, right?" her cousin Harper teased behind her, still clutching her bouquet like it was a weapon. "That's what makes it worse." Rae wasn't bitter, at least not out loud, but standing in as maid of honor for her picture-perfect cousin's picture-perfect wedding to a plastic surgeon with a jawline carved from marble was starting to feel like a slow form of torture. Her own love life was a disaster zone, her photography business was barely scraping by, and now she had to spend an entire weekend pretending to be thrilled for people whose biggest problem was choosing between crème brûlée or tiramisu. She stepped into the courtyard, breathing in the warm California air, when a man turned from the stone railing. He wasn't in the rehearsal. He wasn't supposed to be here, and he sure as hell didn't look like someone who blended into the background. The man wore a tailored navy suit that probably cost more than her car. His dark hair was stylishly messy, like he'd just run a hand through it, and his eyes gray, sharp, watching her like he knew something she didn't, locked onto her like a magnet. "I think you dropped this," he said, holding out a single white heel. Rae blinked. "You were just holding my shoe," he shrugged, casual like this wasn't weird at all. "It was lying on the stone. Thought you might want it back before you stab someone with the other one." "That's not off the table," she muttered, reaching for it. "Thanks. I'm Xander Fields," he said, offering his hand, standing in for the best man. "Brandon got stuck in New York." Rae shook his hand, noting the firm grip and the expensive watch peeking from his cuff. "Rae Kinsley, maid of honor, professional shoe loser." He laughed, a deep, rich sound that made her chest tighten for reasons she didn't like. "Well, Rae Kinsley, you looked like you were escaping. Should I call someone? Only if you can get me out of this wedding with my dignity intact and a plate of mozzarella sticks." He tilted his head. "You're that desperate, you have no idea." There was a beat of silence between them, and she felt the air shift. His gaze dropped to her bare feet, then back up to her eyes, softer now. "You're not like the rest of them, are you?" She blinked. "The rest of who?" "The people in there." "Perfect hair, perfect lives, perfect lies." Rae narrowed her eyes. "You don't know anything about me, not yet." It wasn't flirtatious, not exactly. It felt more like a promise, and that terrified her. Xander didn't believe in fate. He believed in control, numbers, strategies. That's how he built his company from nothing and turned it into a multinational empire by 35. That's how he stayed out of the tabloids and away from people who wanted his money more than his name. But Rae Kinsley wasn't like anyone he'd ever met. She didn't care about his last name. She didn't ask what he did. She didn't even seem interested in anything other than escaping the wedding madness and getting back to her camera and her real life, which made her dangerous and irresistible. He hadn't planned to stand in for Brandon, but the guy had begged. Old friend from Princeton. And besides, Xander needed a break from boardrooms and mergers. He didn't expect to find a barefoot woman with wild chestnut curls and fire in her voice talking about mozzarella sticks like they were salvation. And now he couldn't stop looking at her. Later that night, the rehearsal dinner buzzed with champagne and small talk. Rae stuck to the edge of the ballroom, sipping sparkling water and trying to avoid the seating chart from hell. "Thought you'd be off dancing with your cousin and the rest of the Stepford wedding party," Xander said, appearing beside her. She glanced up. "And miss this riveting floral centerpiece?" "Never," he leaned in. "I have a proposition." She raised a brow. "You're not that kind of guy, are you?" He grinned. "I wasn't until I met you." She rolled her eyes but smiled despite herself. "What's your proposition?" "Come with me." "Where?" "Outside. There's a garden. It's quiet. No speeches, no photographers." "Just air." She stared at him, debating for maybe half a second before nodding. "You had me at no photographers." The garden behind the resort was quiet, lit by soft fairy lights and moonlight. Rae sat on a wrought iron bench, kicking off her heels again. "So, Xander Fields. What do you do when you're not rescuing women from bad centerpieces?" He paused. "Business, mostly overseas." She narrowed her eyes. "That's vague. I like it that way." You're not married, are you? No. Fiancé in the shadows, secret kids. Nope, just me. She studied him. You don't talk about yourself much. And you deflect every compliment. She looked down at her lap. If I let myself believe them, I'd get hurt. His voice was softer now. Who hurt you? She looked up, startled. That's not your business. Maybe not. But I'd still like to know. She hesitated. My ex-fiancé, he left a week before our wedding, said I was too much, too loud, too messy, not polished enough. Then he was an idiot. She laughed quietly, the sound catching in her throat. You don't even know me, I'm starting to. Inside the ballroom, the DJ's voice echoed as the first dance began. Think they'll make it? Rae asked, nodding toward the windows. Xander followed her gaze. I don't know, but I think some people are worth the risk. She turned to him. Are you? That depends. He stepped closer. Are you? Her breath caught. The air around them shifted again, charged with something magnetic. I'm not looking for anything, she said, voice low. Neither am I, he replied. But sometimes, what you're not looking for finds you anyway. He reached out, tugging a loose curl behind her ear, and for the first time in a long time, Rae didn't pull away. Rae stared at the worn notebook in her lap, the one she always carried in her purse in case a photo idea struck. But tonight she hadn't opened it once. She couldn't stop thinking about the way Xander had looked at her in the garden, like she wasn't just another bridesmaid in another pastel dress, but something rare. Something worth seeing. She didn't believe in that kind of look anymore. A knock sounded on the door of her hotel room as she tucked the notebook away. She opened it cautiously, expecting Harper or maybe the wedding planner with another last-minute crisis. Instead, Xander leaned against the frame, holding 2 paper cups. Room service was a disaster, he said. So I bribed the concierge for coffee. She stepped back, surprised. It's past midnight. Exactly, he replied, walking in. The only hour when coffee feels like rebellion. She took the cup, suspicious. Why are you here again? I told you, I'm not great at small talk, but late-night coffee. I've got a degree in that. She sat on the arm of the sofa, watching him lower himself into the desk chair like he owned the room. You're persistent. You didn't say no. I didn't say yes either. Yet here we are, she sipped cautiously. It was strong, bitter, exactly how she liked it. You don't act like a guy who's used to being told no, she said. I'm not, he replied. But I've learned that sometimes the most interesting people are the ones who say it anyway. She studied him. You always talk like that, like you're trying to figure people out. I used to, he said. Now I do it because it's easier than letting them figure me out first, she tilted her head. That sounds exhausting. It is. For the first time, his eyes didn't look sharp, they looked tired. Tell me something real, she said, surprising even herself. He paused. My mother died when I was 17. I haven't had a holiday I didn't work through since. She didn't flinch. I'm sorry, he nodded. Don't be. I buried myself in business. It worked until it didn't. What changed? I got bored. She leaned forward. Of money, of pretending it was enough. Rae looked down at her coffee, then back at him. You really don't care that I don't know who you are, do you? Actually, I prefer it. Why? Because when people find out, they stop listening to what I'm saying and start calculating what I'm worth. And what are you worth to the people who matter? Still figuring that out. She let the silence settle between them. It wasn't uncomfortable. It felt like standing on the edge of something and choosing not to jump. Tomorrow's the wedding, she said finally. I know. You think you'll survive it, he grinned faintly. Only if you're sitting next to me, she snorted. You're really not used to people saying no, are you? No, he said, standing. But I'm learning. He tapped her cup gently with his, eyes holding hers for just a second longer than necessary. Get some sleep, Rae. She watched him walk out, not bothering to respond, because for the first time in years she didn't feel like sleeping at all. The next morning, Rae stood in front of the mirror, tugging at the zipper of her bridesmaid dress. It was blush-colored, strapless, and as tight as emotional repression. Harper had chosen it, of course. There was a knock, more urgent this time. She opened the door halfway, dress half-zipped. Harper, if you tell me to fix my hair again, I swear it's me, Xander said. She yanked the door wider in surprise. Why are you? I have 10 minutes before I'm supposed to be downstairs, but I need to ask you something, she blinked. Now, he looked like he hadn't slept. His tie hung loose around his neck, and he wasn't wearing his jacket yet. "I'm flying to Italy on Monday," he said. "Florence, I have to meet with someone about a project I've been putting off." "Okay, come with me," she stared at him. "What? Just for a few days, no pressure, no expectations. Just cameras and food and churches and space." "Xander, I can't just— You can. You just won't," she swallowed. "Why would you even want me there?" "Because when I talk to you, I forget what I'm supposed to sound like." She didn't know what to say. "I'll be downstairs," he said, backing away. "You don't have to decide now, but I had to ask before I lost the nerve." He turned and walked down the hall. Rae shut the door behind him, and for the first time in a long time, she felt like the ground was shifting beneath her feet and she wasn't sure if she wanted to stop it. The ceremony was beautiful, of course. String quartet, rose petals, the whole fantasy. Harper floated down the aisle and Rae followed behind, smiling for the cameras with practiced ease, but when she reached the altar, she glanced sideways. Xander stood at the groom's right, expression unreadable, their eyes met. And in that split second, everything felt louder, brighter, like the air itself had taken a breath. She looked away first, but not because she wanted to. Because if she didn't, she wasn't sure she'd be able to pretend for the rest of the ceremony. After the vows, during the reception, Rae stood by the fountain, watching the champagne spill like gold through the tears. Xander approached, loosening his collar. "You looked like you were thinking about jumping in." She didn't smile. "I was thinking about Italy." He leaned in slightly. And she turned to face him fully. "If I say yes, it's not because I want some whirlwind romance or a distraction from my life. It's because I'm tired of being safe." "I don't want safe," he said. "I want honest." She nodded once. "Then ask me again. Come with me to Italy?" Yes. He didn't touch her, didn't kiss her, but the way he looked at her in that moment made her feel like he had. And just like that, the wedding wasn't the most important thing happening that weekend anymore. Rae adjusted the camera strap across her chest and stepped off the private jet into the Florentine sunlight. The air smelled like warm stone and citrus, and the breeze tugged at the hem of her linen skirt. She didn't speak as she descended the steps, too distracted by the sudden realization that she was, in fact, standing on Italian soil beside a man she'd only met days ago, one who made her feel like she was finally breathing after years underwater. Xander walked ahead, phone tucked away, jacket slung over his arm. A black car waited just beyond the tarmac, sleek and polished. As he opened her door first, Rae didn't miss the way the driver nodded at him, deferential, not surprised, like this was normal. "This isn't your first time here," she said once they were seated, the city beginning to blur past as they entered the cobbled streets. "I come once a year," he replied, his hand resting on the leather between them. "There's a villa just outside the city. Belonged to someone who meant a lot to me." "I kept it. Villa," she repeated, raising an eyebrow. He glanced at her. "You'll see." As the car moved deeper into the hills, the buildings gave way to olive groves and cypress trees. Finally, through a wrought iron gate framed by stone lions, the car rolled to a stop in front of a sun-bleached villa draped in ivy and silence. Rae stepped out slowly. "This doesn't feel real." "It isn't," Xander said quietly. "But it's mine." Inside, the house was cool and quiet, with terracotta floors and wide, arched windows. She walked through the rooms with careful steps, like she might wake something. A hallway opened into a library where the scent of old pages lingered in the air. "You read all of these?" she asked, brushing her fingers along a shelf. "Most of them," he said. "The rest belonged to my father." She turned. "You've never mentioned him." "I don't usually." She waited, not pressing. He exhaled. "He was brilliant, also impossible. Taught me how to win and how to walk away from anyone who slowed me down. And your mother balanced him until she was gone." Rae looked out the tall windows. "That's why you stayed away from people." "Not all of them," he said, watching her. "Just the ones who didn't understand what silence meant." She turned to face him fully. "I don't like silence. It usually means someone's hiding something." He stepped closer. "Sometimes it means there's nothing left to prove." Rae didn't answer. Instead, she moved past him, drawn to the back terrace. The view was staggering rolling hills stretched to the horizon, dotted with vineyards and golden light. I could take pictures here for days, she said. Then do it, he replied. Stay as long as you want, she turned. You don't even know what I want. Maybe not, he said, but I'd rather find out than spend another year pretending I don't care. That night, they ate outside under a canopy of lights strung between olive trees. There was no staff, no catered meal, just a bottle of red wine he uncorked himself and a bowl of pasta he admitted to ordering from a nearby trattoria. I thought billionaires had chefs, she teased. I do, he said, but I wanted dinner, not a production. She swirled her fork through the pasta. You don't act like someone with money. I've seen what money does to people. I'd rather be underestimated. She looked up. Is that what you're doing with me? He didn't blink. No. I'm hoping you'll surprise me. Later, as they stood in the quiet garden, the stars thick above them, Rae pulled her camera from her bag. I want to remember this exactly the way it feels, she said. He watched her lift the lens. And how does it feel? Like I'm somewhere I'm not supposed to be, she said softly. But I don't want to leave. The next morning, Rae found herself wandering the vineyard behind the villa with her camera slung at her hip. Dew clung to the grass and the sun stretched low over the hills. Xander joined her in silence, hands in his pockets. I want to ask something, Rae said without looking at him. Go ahead. Why me? He didn't answer right away. Because you didn't look at me like I was a prize, he said eventually. You looked at me like I was interrupting your day, she laughed. I was trying to escape a wedding rehearsal, and I was trying to escape everything else. She stopped walking. So this, us, what is it? He stepped closer. That depends on what you want it to be. I don't know yet. I'm not asking for forever, he said, but I am asking for right now. She felt it then, the pull of something reckless and beautiful, the kind of feeling she'd buried under years of being let down. I'm not used to being seen, she said. Then let me be the first. The kiss came without warning, but not without meaning. It wasn't soft, it wasn't rushed. It was deliberate. Two people who'd spent too long pretending they didn't need anyone colliding in the middle of a promise. When they pulled apart, Rae rested her forehead against his. I'm scared, she whispered. He closed his eyes. So am I. But neither of them moved, and maybe Rae thought that was the point. The late afternoon sun cut golden lines across the edge of the villa's terrace, casting long shadows over the stone railing. Rae leaned forward, elbows resting on the warm surface, her camera beside her, untouched. She hadn't taken a single photo since that morning. Not because there was nothing to capture, but because she was afraid that once she did, it would all start to feel like a memory instead of a moment. Behind her, the door opened. I thought I'd find you out here, Xander said, his voice low but steady. I needed air, she said without turning. And maybe a little distance. He stepped beside her, silent for a beat before saying, I didn't think I'd want someone to stay, not like this. She looked at him, but his eyes were on the horizon. You mean you didn't think you'd want me to stay? I mean I didn't think I'd feel something that wasn't calculated. He turned to her. You don't fit into any plan I've ever made, Rae, she exhaled, her fingers curling slightly over the stone. I don't know what to do with that. Neither do I. They stood there, the quiet stretching between them, threaded with things neither of them could name. I got an offer, she said finally. From a gallery in San Francisco. They want to feature my work in a fall collection. Xander's jaw tightened, but he didn't speak. I'd have to move, she added. At least for a while, he nodded once. You should do it. I didn't say I was going. You didn't say you weren't. She turned toward him. Are you telling me to leave? No, he said. I'm saying you shouldn't give this up for me. I won't be the reason you choose small when you deserve more. She studied him. You think I'd be choosing small if you stay here just because of me? He met her gaze. Yes, Rae's chest tightened. She wanted to yell at him, or kiss him, or possibly both. I don't want to go back to a life where I'm invisible, she said, but I also don't want to wake up 6 months from now wondering if this was just another temporary escape for you. It wasn't, he said, stepping closer. It isn't? Then tell me how this works. Tell me what happens when we go back. He didn't hesitate. You chase your dream, I run my company, and we stop pretending we don't belong in each other's lives. She blinked. You're proposing we try long distance. I'm proposing we stop building a future on fear, he said. I'll fly to San Francisco every week if I have to. You'll come back here when deadlines aren't breathing down your neck. We find a rhythm. We make it ours. What if it doesn't work? He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a velvet box. Her breath caught. No, he said quickly, seeing her expression. Not that kind of box, not yet. He opened it. Inside was a necklace, simple, elegant. A single gold bar engraved with a tiny camera lens etched at the bottom corner. I had it made last night, he said. Because I wanted you to have something that reminds you that this, he gestured between them, was real, no matter what happens next. She touched it lightly, then looked at him. You're not going to say you love me. I'm going to show you, he said. In every way that counts, starting now. The next few days blurred into something that felt both unreal and inevitable. They left the villa only once to visit a gallery tucked inside a stone building in the heart of Florence. Rae wandered the halls, speaking to the curator in halting Italian, while Xander stood back, watching her come alive beneath the soft light of the exhibits. That night, back at the villa, he found her in the studio space she'd claimed upstairs. She was barefoot, surrounded by prints she'd developed herself in the temporary darkroom she'd insisted on setting up. You're glowing, he said. I haven't felt like this in years, she replied, holding up a black and white photo of the vineyard at dawn. I didn't think I'd ever feel like this again. He stepped closer. You make me believe things I didn't think were possible. And you make me brave, she whispered. He kissed her, then not with desperation, but with certainty, as if anchoring himself to something he finally understood. The morning they left, Rae stood at the gate, the necklace around her neck, her camera bag slung across her shoulder. I booked a one-way ticket, she said. San Francisco first, after that, who knows? Good, he said. There should always be room for the unknown, she hesitated. And you, I've already cleared my schedule for the next gallery showing and the one after that. She laughed softly, emotion tightening in her throat. You're really doing this? I don't make promises often, he said, but when I do, I keep them. When the car arrived, she turned to him, her hand resting against his chest. I don't know what this is going to look like 5 months from now, a year, 10. He covered her hand with his. It's going to look like us, whatever that means. She kissed him once deeply before stepping inside the car. As the vehicle pulled away, she looked back. Xander stood beneath the arch of the gate, hands in his pockets, the late morning light casting a soft halo behind him. He didn't wave. He didn't need to, because what they had wasn't ending. It was just beginning, and Rae knew without fear, without hesitation, that she was stepping into something real, something lasting, something called love with the man who'd seen her, chosen her, and stayed. From a chance meeting outside a wedding chapel, to forever. The scent of fresh paint lingered in the air as Rae stepped back from the gallery wall, her palms streaked with charcoal smudges from hanging the final piece. Outside the tall windows, Market Street buzzed with early evening light and blurred taxis. Inside, the gallery was quiet except for the soft rustle of linen as assistants adjusted tablecloths, and the muted clink of champagne glasses being placed on silver trays. She stood still for a second, taking it in, her name stenciled in gold across the entrance, her photographs framed and perfectly lit, the culmination of years of saying yes to everything except herself. Until now, you missed a spot, Xander said behind her. She turned to find him leaning against the doorway, wearing a dark gray suit that made his eyes look stormier than ever. He held a small cloth and a bottle of cleaner and gestured toward the lower corner of her vineyard photo. Rae laughed. If that's your way of saying you're nervous for me, you're terrible at it. I'm not nervous, he said, walking toward her. I'm jealous. Of what? Everyone in this city gets to see what I already knew, he said. That you're extraordinary. She looked away, heart thudding in her chest. You're biased. I'm invested, he corrected. There's a difference. He handed her the cloth but didn't let go of her hand right away. His thumb brushed across her knuckles, and when she looked up, his expression was unreadable. You've been quiet since you landed, she said. Tell me what's on your mind. I signed over majority control of the European division, he said, her eyes widened. You what? I'm stepping back from the travel, the conferences, the boardroom battles. I've spent years chasing things that never held me the way you do. Rae stared at him. You didn't do that for me. No, he said. I did it for the man I want to be with you in my life. You just gave me the reason. She set the cloth down slowly. You're serious? I've never been more. A knock interrupted them. One of the gallery assistants peeked in. Doors open in 5, Rae nodded, then faced Xander again. I'm terrified. You should be, he said. Big things should be terrifying. But you're not alone. Later, as the gallery filled with people, curators, critics, buyers, and strangers who whispered her name with hesitant reverence, Rae moved through the space like she'd always belonged there. She caught Xander watching her from across the room, hands in his pockets, surrounded by no one, eyes only on her. After the final speech, after the last glass of champagne had been drained, she found him outside on the terrace, the city glowing behind him like a constellation. You didn't say what you thought of the show, she said, stepping into the cool air. I was too busy watching you. She reached into her coat and pulled out a folded piece of paper. This came during the opening. It's from Florence. He unfolded it, scanning the elegant script, his brows lifted. They want to feature our vineyard shots in an international exhibit, she said. Both of us. They want your name as co-creator, conceptual partner. He looked up slowly. You added my name. You didn't think I'd take all the credit, did you? I didn't think you'd want to tie your work to someone else's. I don't, she said, unless it's someone who changed the way I see everything. He stepped closer. You're still wearing the necklace. Every day, I've been carrying something, he said, reaching into his coat pocket. Thought I'd wait until the right moment. He pulled out a small wooden box, not velvet, not flashy, simple, honest. Before you panic, he added quickly, it's not a ring. Yet, she opened the box to find a vintage Leica, sleek, black, and perfectly preserved. This was my mother's, he said. She used it in college. I've had it restored. I want you to have it. Rae felt the air punch from her lungs. Xander. I didn't know what it meant to share something that mattered, he said. Not until you. She closed the box gently, then stepped into his arms. I want a life with you, not just the stolen days and gallery nights, all of it. You have it, he said. Every piece. You still planning to fly back every week? No, he said. I bought a place here, a few blocks away. I figured if I was going to chase you around the world, I might as well start with your neighborhood. She pulled back just enough to look at him. You're moving to San Francisco? I already have. You're insane. I'm in love. It's practically the same thing. She pulled him into a kiss, not because it was perfect timing or the perfect scene, but because everything in her had been waiting to feel this sure, this strong, this rooted. They stood wrapped in each other as the city spun beneath them, alive with promise. 6 months later, Rae stood barefoot in the middle of a sun-drenched studio, her camera slung across her shoulder, her eyes fixed on the man painting the new wall with primer. You missed a spot, she teased, tossing him a rag. Xander caught it effortlessly. You say that every time. It's always true. The loft echoed with the soft hum of an old record player and the clatter of brushes. Their gallery was expanding. Their work was now sold in 3 countries. And last week, they'd flown back to Florence and walked the vineyard at dawn, hand in hand. Now they were home. A real one, together. Xander set down the roller and walked over, tugging her gently into his arms. You ever think about the wedding? She rested her head against his chest. Sometimes, mostly how glad I am I lost that shoe, he laughed quietly. You didn't lose it, I found it. Same thing? No, he whispered against her temple. It was the beginning. She tilted her head up. You ready for the next chapter? I'm already living it. And when he kissed her, there was no audience, no gallery lights, no grand terrace, just 2 people who had found each other unexpectedly, imperfectly, entirely. And this time, neither of them was going anywhere.